The void stretched endlessly before the alien vessel Aurelia. It drifted among fractured asteroids and dying stars, its engines long silent. Inside, the once bright halls were dim, lit only by the emergency glow of the ship's failing core. The crew moved through the corridors like shadows, their hope thinning as oxygen levels dropped with each passing cycle. Their commander, a tall being with silver-gray skin and eyes that shimmered faintly blue, stared at the cracked viewplate on the bridge. His name was Lirith. Once a decorated officer of the Viren fleet, he now stood powerless before the silence. Of deep space thought the Aurelia had been a vessel of peace, sent to chart unknown regions beyond mapped sectors. But a sudden storm of radiation had struck from a pulsar field, crippling their drives and burning out half the life support network. Communications were down and the navigation arrays were blind. They had sent a distress signal into the void, but cycles passed and no one answered. The crew had begun to whisper that they would die here, lost among the stars that no one remembered. Then, on the edge of despair, a faint crackle echoed through the static of the communication console. A voice rough, tired, but unmistakably. A live cut through. "This is Captain Ryan Blake of the Odyssey. I picked up your signal. Who's out there?" Every alien on the bridge froze. A human. They had heard of the humans, the species that ventured recklessly into the unknown, fragile but unyielding, survivors of their own chaos. Lyrith's first officer looked uneasy. "Commander, humans are primitives. Their ships are outdated. They can't reach us before our air runs out." But Lirith raised a hand for silence. He answered when no one else did. Lirith opened the channel. "This is Commander Lirith of the Viren vessel Aurelia. We are stranded, our engines are dead. We have 72 hours of oxygen left." There was a pause, then the human replied with quiet determination, "Hold tight, I'm coming." The crew exchanged doubtful glances. The signal origin showed the human ship was days away, even at maximum warp. Rescue seemed impossible. Yet there was something in that human tone, a stubborn resolve that made them hesitate before giving up. Hours passed. The Aurelia groaned as systems flickered. Power fluctuations forced the crew to gather in central compartments, rationing warmth and light. Some whispered that trusting a human was madness. Others whispered that it was hope. In the dark, Lirith replayed the message. "Hold tight, I'm coming." It repeated like a heartbeat in the cold vacuum. On the Odyssey, Captain Ryan Blake was already overclocking his ship's reactors. The small human freighter was not built for rescue missions, but for hauling cargo across dangerous routes. Yet Ryan had seen the coordinates and couldn't turn away. He remembered being lost once himself, trapped in orbit around a dying moon, with no one answering his distress call. That silence had nearly broken him. So when he heard Aurelia's cry, he swore that no one else would face that same silence if he could help it. He rerouted all auxiliary power to propulsion, ignoring the ship's warning alarms. His maintenance drone, a small orb named Echo, hovered beside him, projecting the strain levels of the engines. "Captain, this acceleration, the reactor will overheat." Ryan gritted his teeth. "We'll deal with that when we get there. Statistical probability of success is, don't tell me the odds." The Odyssey tore through deep space, its hull glowing faintly from radiation fields. Ryan patched into old human military algorithms to amplify the jump drive beyond safe parameters. Each time the drive flared, the ship screamed under the pressure. He had no escort, no backup, no guarantee he'd even find them alive, but that didn't matter. Someone had to answer. Back aboard the Aurelia, morale continued to fade. Water condensers failed. The youngest crew member, Turn, collapsed from exhaustion. Lirith carried him to the infirmary, its lights flickering like the last embers of a dying fire. The medical systems had long gone offline, but he refused to let despair show. "He'll survive," Lirith told the others, even though he wasn't sure. At that moment, another transmission arrived. "Aurelia, this is Odyssey. I'm closing in. I'll reach your position in 21 hours. The alien bridge erupted in cautious relief. Someone whispered, "He's still coming." Lirith smiled faintly. He said he would. Outside, The void rippled as the Odyssey approached the pulsar field. Radiation storms swirled like luminous oceans of fire. Ryan activated the old deflector shields, patched from obsolete Earth tech, and forced his ship through. Warning lights bathed the cockpit red, and the hull temperature climbed. The navigation AI protested, "Radiation exceeds safe tolerance. You will die if you continue." Ryan only said, "Not before them." He pushed forward, sweating as systems shorted one by one. The Odyssey's main drive sputtered. He manually stabilized the core, his gloved hands burning from the heat of the controls. Every second dragged him closer to death, yet he refused to slow down when the Aurelia appeared. On his scanners, he almost didn't believe it. The alien ship drifted, half broken, surrounded by debris from shattered satellites. Ryan hailed them immediately. "This is the Odyssey. Visual contact established." Cheers filled the alien bridge. For the first time in many cycles, their hearts lifted, but rescue was far from simple. The Aurelia's docking systems were damaged, and the human ship was too small to tow such a massive vessel. Ryan calculated options, each more dangerous than the last. He decided to attempt something no sane pilot would try: transfer his ship's core energy through a manual coupling to jumpstart Aurelia's reactors. He suited up, stepping into the void with magnetic boots and a tool pack. The alien crew watched through the viewplate as the lone human drifted toward them, tethered to his ship by a single cable. Against the backdrop of burning stars, he looked impossibly small, a fragile figure defying the emptiness. Lirith whispered, "He walks the stars like it's nothing." Ryan reached the damaged power conduit on the alien hull. He linked the coupling cable, overriding both safety locks. Sparks burst around him, illuminating his visor. His suit's oxygen gauge dropped as radiation seeped in. But the moment he activated the transfer, a pulse of energy surged through the Aurelia. Lights flickered alive, systems roared back to life, and the main reactor began to hum. The crew gasped in disbelief. "It's working." Lirith pressed his hand to the console, watching the power levels rise. He did it. But on Ryan's side, the strain proved too much. His ship's core overloaded, alarms blaring. The Odyssey shuddered violently as the energy feedback loop destabilized. Echo's voice cracked through static. "Warning! Reactor breach imminent." Ryan severed the line and pushed off toward the airlock, but the explosion ripped through his ship before he reached it. The shockwave threw him spinning into the void. Lirith saw it happen. "Retrieve him now!" he shouted. The Aurelia's tractor beam, weak but functional, reached out and caught the drifting human just before his tethers snapped. They pulled him aboard, dragging him into the pressurized bay. His suit was cracked, his breathing shallow. The alien medic worked silently, stabilizing him as best as possible. Hours later, when Ryan opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the faint blue glow of the alien ceiling. Around him stood the crew he had saved. Lirith stepped forward, bowing his head. "You risked your life for strangers." Ryan smiled weakly. "You called for help. That's all I needed." The Aurelia was now running on limited power, but its engines stirred once more. With coordinates from Ryan's database, they plotted a safe route toward a nearby star system. The crew repaired what they could, guided by human improvisation. Ryan, though weakened, continued to assist, showing them how to bypass faulty circuits using basic metal wiring. The aliens marveled at his crude yet effective methods. "You humans repair machines like you, heal wounds with whatever you can." "Fine," one of them said. Ryan chuckled. "We learned it the hard way." As days passed, the cultural gap between species faded. The crew began to understand what drove humans, their refusal to surrender even when logic said otherwise. To them, humans were reckless. To Ryan, they simply couldn't bear to watch life fade without fighting for it. When the Aurelia finally emerged from the pulsar field, their navigation restored, a fleet signal reached them from Viorine Command. Rescue ships were on the way. The crew erupted in celebration. Yet when they turned to thank the human, he was resting in the med bay, exhausted. Lirith approached him quietly. You gave us back our lives, Lirith said, and your ship is gone. Ryan looked toward the stars beyond the window. Ships can be rebuilt. People can't. The alien commander nodded slowly, moved by the simplicity of that truth. Our world spoke of humans as impulsive and short-lived. But they never said you carried such fire. Ryan grinned faintly. Fire's what keeps us alive in the dark. When the Viren rescue fleet arrived, they were stunned to find an alien vessel revived and guided by a human survivor. Reports of the event spread through every channel of both civilizations. Many dismissed it as exaggeration, but those who had seen it with their own eyes told the truth. A lone human had answered a call no one else dared to hear. As Ryan recovered aboard the rescue vessel, he was invited to stand beside Lirith before the entire Viren Command Council. The hall shimmered with crystalline light as the commander spoke. When hope failed and our signal vanished into the void, a single human voice answered. He crossed storms and radiation to reach us. He gave his